This is Woodman here with another segment about chromacy. First off, tetrachromacy is a rare condition where individuals will have four types of color receptors or cones in their eyes rather than the usual three. This additional cone type allows for a broader range of color perception. Let's look at this in detail as to tetrachromacy, which occurs in humans, particularly in women. Although it is a rare condition, if it is going to occur, it's going to occur in the female gender rather than the male gender more often. Let's talk about normal color vision. Most humans have three types of cones in their retinas, each sensitive to different wavelengths of light. We have short for blue, we have medium for green, and we have long for red. These three types of cones allow us to see a wide spectrum of colors by combining signals from these cones. Ultimately, if you mix all three, you may see something that's more white, and if you were able to have an absence of light, then you have darkness. Tetrachromacy. Tetrachromacy involves an additional cone type. This extra cone can detect wavelengths of light that are between those already covered by the standard three cones. This effectively allows certain individuals, who are a rarity, to perceive a broader spectrum of colors. The additional cone typically has a sensitivity to wavelengths in the range between those covered by the medium and long cones, adding an extra dimension to color perception. So let's talk about the extra cone and the wavelengths that are involved. The fourth cone in tetrachromats is often described as being sensitive to a particular range of wavelengths that fill in gaps between the ranges that are already covered by the existing small, medium, and large cones, which correspond to the red, green, and the blue, although not necessarily in that order. This means that tetrachromats may see colors that trichromats, which are people with normal color vision, have, which means they can distinguish even a broader range of colors. It thus has subtle differences between shades of or entirely new colors in the spectrum. How frequently does this occur in the human population? As I indicated before, this is a rarity, so tetrachromacy is exceedingly rare. Studies that have been done on it suggest that it occurs in about 1 in 50,000 women, as the condition is most commonly observed in females. It is linked to the genetics of the X chromosome. Since women have two X chromosomes, they are more likely to have the genetic variations needed for tetrachromacy. Because remember, men are the XY, which makes them different from females, which are XX. So, how do you test for tetrachromacy? How would you know if a particular human, most likely a woman, would have this? Well, they do color matching experiments. Scientists will, have researchers pick different samples of the population, and they use these tests where individuals are asked to match colors or distinguish between colors that are very similar. Tetrachromats may be able to make distinctions that are actually not possible for trichromats, which are normal humans, right? They have a heightened sense of spectral sensitivity, and so by using these spectral sensitivity tests, these advanced methods can involve measuring the ability of individuals to detect and differentiate between light at various wavelengths. These tests can be done using specialized equipment that can measure exactly how different wavelengths are to be perceived by these rare individuals. Also, there is a possibility of genetic testing to be done on this. Since tetrachromacy is linked to a genetic variation on the X chromosome, genetic testing um, seems to be helping in identify the presence of these variations by looking actually at the DNA itself to see if certain code segments are present. This is more of a confirmatory step because already they will have probably passed tests on the visual spectrum where they differentiate between extra colors, and then scientists can go afterwards to see, well, what genes do they possess that are allowing them to do this. So it is a very rare phenomenon, but it can enhance color perception, and it remains a subject of ongoing research. Scientists are still exploring the full extent of the implications of why people are tetrachromats and how it affects the way certain individuals experience color. Now, we also have dichromacy and monochromacy, in addition to trichromacy and tetrachromacy. Monochromacy is a deficiency where an individual only has one type of color receptor, one particular type of cone, or none at all, which means they can only perceive one color or shades of gray. So here's a further in-depth look at monochromacy and what it means. Monochromacy, as we stated, an individual has either a single type of cone, which is monochromatic vision, or none at all, which is achromatopsia, or total color blindness. This results in seeing the world in shades of gray or in shades of a single color, with no real ability to differentiate between the different wavelengths of light. What creatures ordinarily possess monochromacy? Well, I'm glad you asked. First off, humans can have it, and so monochromacy in humans is rare. It can occur in two main forms. The first form is the achromatopsia, which I described previously, which is a complete absence of color vision, where individuals basically just perceive only shades of gray. This condition is due to the lack of functional cones and is often accompanied by reduced visual acuity and light sensitivity. Oh my God, try saying that 7 times fast. So let's talk about rod monochromacy. This is a condition where only rod cells are sensitive to light but do not detect color, and so therefore they have issues in their functionality. This results in seeing the world in shades of gray. Now, how does that occur in animals now? Well, see, now in animals, for some animals, it may be the norm for them to be monochromatic or dichromatic even, right? Certain mammals, like marine mammals, seals, whales, etc., as well as some nocturnal animals, exhibit monochromacy. For instance, many carnivorous mammals, which hunt in low light conditions, may have a rod dominant vision. This allows them to see in dim light, but then they don't have that crispness of being able to differentiate in terms of color vision. Birds and reptiles also. Some birds and reptile species, particularly those adapted to very specific environments or lifestyles, can exhibit monochromacy because apparently where you suffer a loss in the color ranges in terms of wavelengths you can detect, you gain this sort of idea that you can always sense certain movements, relatively easily. Let's talk about how frequent that is in nature. Monochromacy is more common in some animal groups than in others. For instance, many nocturnal and aquatic mammals have monochromatic vision due to evolutionary adaptations for low light environments. Again, being that in a low light environment, having more colors is actually not necessarily more beneficial if you're looking to detect small changes in movement. Some humans may need it in terms of if you're doing foraging and predator detection as well, that it allows them to have that heightened sense of movement just the same way animals do when they hunt in very low light conditions. What about the genetic basis? Well, in mammals, the presence and type of the cones are often determined by genetics. In many species, including humans, females have two X chromosomes, while males have one X and one Y chromosome. The genes responsible for color vision are located on the X chromosome, so you're not going to be able to pass it to another through the Y chromosome. So let's talk about the cone variation in females. The color vision genes in species where females have more than one particular X chromosome, they can possess different color vision genes on each X chromosome. This can potentially give them a broader range of color vision or even lead to tetrachromacy in some cases. For these females, again, they have a heightened sensitivity to different wavelengths of light, and therefore they can see things that others may not. In terms of inactivation in mammals, one of the X chromosomes in females is randomly inactivated in each cell, a process which is known as X inactivation. This means that not all cells express the same set of color vision genes. Some females might therefore have a mosaic of color vision abilities due to this genetic variability. In males, they typically only have just the one X chromosome, so they can only express one set of color vision genes, which leads to less of a variability in the cone types that males will actually exhibit. Monochromacy, while rare, is an important aspect of understanding how different organisms perceive their environment. The variations in color vision among species and between genders within a species highlight the diversity and adaptability of visual systems in nature. Dichromacy, which is the condition of having only two types of color receptors or cones, is often associated with better night vision. In certain animals, due to a combination of factors related to visual sensitivity and adaptation, let's go into a breakdown of why dichromacy could enhance night vision. It's almost like when you are looking at night vision goggles and you see everything in green. Like you're filtering out these other colors, but you can see a lot better because of the fact that you don't have to distinguish between different wavelengths of light as you do with having three cones. In the terms of the type of cones in dichromacy, in dichromatic vision, animals with dichromacy typically have two types of cones, which are sensitive to different wavelengths of light. For example, these cones might be tuned to short and long wavelengths, or to different ranges within the visible spectrum. I think when I was looking at how the cones look for animals, it was like variations between yellow and brown or something like that, which was very strange, right? Rod cells. In addition to the cones, these animals often have a high density of rod cells, which are specialized for low light vision and are more sensitive than cones. The rods do not detect color but are highly effective in detecting light and dark contrast, which means that any particular change in a dark setting is going to set off the rods in many of these mammals who are used to hunting in low light conditions. So what about reduced color discrimination? Dichromatic vision means that these animals can only distinguish between two types of wavelengths, which limits their ability to perceive a wide range of colors. However, this limitation, like I said, is offset by the increased efficiency of their rod cells, which can then pick up on just the slightest thing. I mean, if you've ever seen how a cat looks, a cat is looking out there, and just any little thing is going to set the cat off because they react within fractions of a second. So this maximizes the sensitivity of their rod cells and thus enhance their ability to detect in low levels of light. And because of their quick reflexes and the quickness of their movement, they're actually able to react to situations far, far quicker than, say, like a normal human. What else it helps with the low level night vision? Well, the rod density can increase as well. The animals with dichromatic vision often have a higher density of rod cells in their retinas. The rods are more sensitive to low light levels as opposed to cones, which makes them better suited for such conditions. This higher rod density allows these animals to see in very, very difficult or obscure lighting conditions where color discrimination is not necessarily crucial to what they are in fact trying to detect. In terms of adaptation to low light, the visual system of dichromatic animals is adapted to maximize contrast. And so, therefore, they're going between light and dark, as opposed to differentiating between one color to the next on a wavelength, on a spectrum, right? So, as a result, by differentiating between varying shades of gray and black and white, this becomes more important than perceiving a full spectrum of different colors. Of course, I suppose if you were looking at a snake trying to figure out if it was poisonous or not, that might be a disadvantage if you can't tell which kind of snake you're looking at because all the colors look the same. What about the retinal structure of dichromatic animals? Well, this often supports enhanced night seeing in terms of the animals that are nocturnal and therefore tend to be out at night more. So their tapetum lucidum reflects light that has passed through the retina back into the eye, giving the rod cells a second chance to detect it. A lot of these things have come out of evolutionary adaptations over time. When you look at nocturnal and crepuscular habitats, dichromacy is commonly found in animals that are active during twilight or nighttime hours. These animals, such as many nocturnal mammals and some birds, have evolved to prioritize light sensitivity over color vision. This evolutionary adaptation helps them to navigate, hunt, and avoid predators in low light conditions, which allows them to survive a lot better. What about the efficiency of visual processing? By having a visual system optimized for detection in contrast and focusing on low light conditions, the dichromatic animals can operate in a way that allows them to be superior in a particular ecological niche, which then could include dawn and dusk environments and environments where the sun has gone down, where color information is not really necessarily so valuable. In summary, dichromacy contributes to better night vision and dark vision in animals by allowing them to enhance the sensitivity and functionality of their rod cells, as the rod cells can move a lot quicker and they can receive information a lot faster and they can continue to get that information relayed within fractions of a second. This adaptation is advantageous for those who are trying to avoid certain predators during night conditions, as well as those who are predators hunting others in darkness conditions. I hope you enjoyed this message. If you're new here, welcome aboard. This is a safe space. If you're returning, I'm glad you're back. Thank you for supporting this channel. I love you so much. Please, again, like, share, and subscribe. And in the name of the Most High God, I ask for health, wealth, abundance, and blessings upon you and your family, and that you be protected from any sort of malice or harm. Woodman signing off. Have a wonderful day.